In the early years of the Second World War, Hitler's armies seemed unstoppable. They conquered Poland with lightning speed. Denmark and Norway fell quickly. France, believed to have one of the strongest armies in the world, was defeated in a matter of weeks. Hitler's blitzkrieg tactics, utilizing speed and overwhelming force, had taken Europe by storm. The German military machine, the Wehrmacht, was at the peak of its power. It was a modern fighting force, well-equipped and well-trained. Its generals, like Rommel and Guderian, were masters of mobile warfare. The early victories fueled a sense of invincibility among the German leadership and populace alike. However, beneath the surface of these triumphs lay the seeds of future defeat. Hitler, intoxicated by success, began to overestimate his own abilities and underestimate the resolve of his enemies. The early victories were achieved against divided and unprepared opponents, a fact that would soon change as the war progressed. The turning point of the war came with the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941 and the Battle of Stalingrad. Hitler, obsessed with conquering Russia, had disregarded the advice of his generals, who warned against opening a second front. The vastness of Russia, combined with the harsh winter conditions, stretched the German army to its limits. Stalingrad became a brutal battle of attrition, a turning point in the east. The German Sixth Army, once considered invincible, was encircled and destroyed. This defeat shattered the myth of German invincibility and sapped German morale. Meanwhile, in 1944, the Allied forces landed in Normandy, France. This marked the opening of a long-awaited second front in Western Europe. The D-Day landings were a logistical and military triumph, showcasing the growing strength of the Allied forces. German forces now faced a war on two fronts, a strategic nightmare that Hitler had been unable to prevent. The tide of the war was turning, and Germany found itself increasingly on the defensive. Hitler's strategic blunders played a significant role in Germany's defeat. His decision to declare war on the United States just days after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor brought a powerful industrial giant into the war against him. His obsession with capturing Stalingrad, rather than focusing on more strategically important objectives, cost him dearly. The invasion of the Soviet Union itself, based on flawed assumptions about Soviet weakness and a quick victory, proved to be a fatal overreach. Hitler's belief in his own military genius often led him to override the advice of his more experienced generals. He micromanaged military operations, often with disastrous consequences. Furthermore, Hitler's racial ideology blinded him to the strategic realities of the war. He underestimated the fighting spirit of the Soviet people, whom he considered racially inferior. He also failed to fully utilize the resources and manpower of occupied nations, further weakening his war effort. Germany's defeat was not solely due to strategic errors. The Allies, particularly the United States, possessed vastly superior industrial and logistical capabilities. The United States, fueled by its massive industrial base, became the arsenal of democracy, providing arms and supplies to its allies. Germany, on the other hand, faced chronic shortages of raw materials, fuel and manpower. Its industrial output, while initially impressive, could not match the combined might of the Allied powers. The Allied bombing campaign, while controversial, significantly hampered German war production and crippled its transportation infrastructure. In the end, Hitler's ideology, which had initially brought him to power, contributed to his downfall. His racist and genocidal policies alienated potential allies and fueled the resistance movements in occupied countries. His fanatical belief in his own destiny blinded him to the realities of the battlefield, leading him to pursue a war that Germany could not win.